Hi, it's Bill Bannister for Underground Memphis. You know, when I hear people refer to Nashville as Music City, USA, I've always kind of gotten a chuckle out of that. Because when it comes to music, American music, the epicenter is right here in downtown Memphis, Tennessee. And I'm standing in front of the place where it all came together, the place where it was born. Back in 1902, the Daisy Theater was built. We're going to go inside and talk to Mr. Randall Catron, who's the executive director of the Beale Street Development Association, and find out a little bit more about this outstanding Memphis treasure, the Daisy Theater. Let's go inside. We're here on the stage of the historic Daisy Theater with Mr. Randall Catron. Randall is the executive director of the Beale Street Development Corporation. Mr. Catron, thank you so much for taking the time to show us around this wonderful, wonderful piece of Memphis history, the Daisy Theater. Tell us a little bit about the Daisy. When was it built?
The Daisy was built in 1902.
Wow.
It was the first theater built for African Americans back at that time. And it was doing so well until they built the new Daisy.
Randall, tell us about some of the famous people who have played right here on this very stage.
We've had Bessie Smith, W.C. Handy. There used to be folly dancers that used to be on here. We have had just about everybody that's ever been through Memphis.
Wow.
Has played on the stage. I can't start calling off the names of all the folk that played on the stage.
Wow, I can't believe I'm standing on the very stage where W.C. Handy played right here on Beale Street. Just amazing. And the price of admission back in those days was...
Back in those days, it was a movie theater. And after the movie, then they had the shows on the stage, and the price was a nickel.
Wow.
It didn't cost but a nickel to get into the Daisy.
That's fantastic.
And right here on the stage is a trap door that leads downstairs. And back in the day when they were gambling on Beale Street, you could go from here to the other side of Beale. So when they were gambling across the street and they would raid across the street, they would come through the tunnel underneath the street into here. The screen was right here on the stage.
Take a look down there, Jonas.
And what they would do was come up through this way, up through the steps here.
That's
and
simply amazing.
The photographer, the cameraman up there could see you coming up behind the screen. So he would then come down and get your admission. He would still get your admission from you.
Wow. Wow.
All music that you hear today, from Japanese, Italians, Mexicans, all of their music was imported. Blues music was the only original true art form. This was the only music that was created here in the United States. And from that came rock and roll,
yes,
rockabilly,
yes,
and the country and western was a white man's blues. Okay, blues was what W.C. Handy created, was the blues of the black man in the cotton field. So let's take that to it.
I see some of the pictures here depicting life on Beale Street in the 30s.
Yeah, that was back in the 39, 40s. That was Beale Street, and as you can see there, a latest coat would only cost you $1.95.
My goodness.
Now these fellas here, they're the guys that built, these three guys here built this theater. And this is what the Daisy looked like back in 1974.
Wow, quite a bit different than it is today. It's restored completely to its original
that's what the
splendor.
federal government asked us to do, is to restore it. Do not tear it down. Use everything that you can that's original.
Fantastic.
The father of the blues, W.C. Hanley. This is B.B. King and Elvis Presley,
Wow.
the two kings.
Fit for a king.
This is our rock and roll wall. Over here you can't have without the father of the blues, W.C. Hanley. He was from Florence, Alabama, and coming up through Mississippi, he heard something he couldn't understand what it was. He had never heard it before. So he said, let me capture this. So he did capture it. He was the first in 1912 to record it in the Library of Congress, the first blues. Now, Elvis got his start here on Beale Street.
Mm-hmm.
He played clubs here on Beale. He sat in with black entertainers on the street, and he got the feel of black entertainers. And one of the places he used to go a lot was East Trigg Baptist Church. And he sat in with musicians here on the street. He picked up a little bit of our form of music, combined it with his form of way, you know, the white folks' way of doing it, and came out and became the king of rock and roll. Man. This is where most of it started, right here, because this was the first theater built. And at night, after the movie stopped, they would have what you call a midnight ramble. That's when the dancers came on the stage, comedians, entertainers, and they would go on until in the morning. Now, the reason Beale Street has always been sort of an integrated street before integration, because white folks love to come here back at that time to see entertainers.
One of the things you'll notice here at the Daisy Theater that's unusual from any other theater that you might see is usually when you walk into a theater, the screen is in the back. Well, here at the Daisy Theater, the screen is on the street side, so when you walk in, turn around, and the screen is toward the street. Randall, why is that? Why is that?
Well, we had a little fun. You know, I'm in my 70s, so we had a little fun. We always, the guys would always come to Beale Street and they would meet their girlfriends or whomever. But if he had another girlfriend, she happened to be looking for him here on Beale.
Or a wife.
Whenever we said we was going downtown to a movie, that's the only movies that we had to go to was this one and one across the street and the Palace Theater, which they tore down. He would be able to see his girlfriend, his other girlfriend, coming in the door. And that way he could get up and move away from this girl and go get some popcorn or something.
Friends, an inside look at one of the most important pieces of Memphis history, the Daisy Theater. I'm Bill Bannister on WRVR's Underground Memphis. Hi, I hope you enjoyed today's feature on Underground Memphis. I've really enjoyed exploring our city for my blog. If you know of a place that we should visit and feature on Underground Memphis, just send me an email to the link below. Until next time, thanks for watching, and thanks for enjoying Underground Memphis with me, Bill Bannister, at WRVR.com.